Why, yes. Yes, I am God. Thank you. So I'm sure that every single one of you has read a fiction book, seen a movie like Star Wars, witnessed any general work of fiction. Comic books count, movies count, everything that didn't actually happen, and even some things that did. Any sort of fictional account of them, every single one of them takes place in inside some sort of world. And every single one of these worlds can feel real and fleshed out. The people feel as real as the person sitting to your left, or if you don't have anyone sitting to your left, the person to your right, or if you're all alone, I'm very sorry for you. And the places in the books the places in a book or a movie can feel as real to you as this room, and the events that happen can feel more alive or real than even some of the things in your history textbook. So what exactly is it that makes these worlds so interesting? Well, it's the depth of the world that's planned out before any of the story writing even begins. So each story world has a complex set of rules that it follows. You may not think about this, but they all do. For example, a romantic comedy movie. I don't know any off the top of my head, but let's just think of one. They usually take place in a world that is exactly like ours. Anything that happens in them could happen in the real world given the right circumstances and the right people. And the places are either exist or wouldn't seem too out of place if they don't. And the people seem like someone you could meet off the street. It follows the same rules as ours. However, a story like Dracula. Now, this world follows almost exactly the same set of rules as ours, except in the past. However, there's an added set of rules governing exactly what vampires can and can't do. Garlic crosses and sunlight in that world have exactly the same set of rules that they follow here. For example, garlic is delicious cooked with salmon, except for their extra effect on vampires. Now, everything in a world like this, where the rules are modified from ours, stays consistent within the world itself. A vampire isn't just going to stop being allergic to garlic. And in other worlds, though, like in Star Wars, it could end up being nothing like ours at all. How many things in Star Wars work like the real world? Not very many of them. But everything stays consistent within itself. The spaceships still fly at the same speed within the movie, and they don't just change at random. And events also have to follow the same set of rules that the world does, not just the people. For example, if there are no cats in your world, don't just have cats. Nothing breaks willing suspension of disbelief like impossible cats. Now, your characters in the story that you're going to write, if they're just a character, you're doing something wrong. Characters have to be as real and deep and complex as real people, because characters are people. They're just a different type of person than what you may encounter here. Now, characters feel a wide range of emotions and are realistic like people. Unlike, and I know some of you are going to hate me for saying this, Edward Cullen from Twilight. Now, let's see. I can count the number of emotions that Edward feels on one hand. Angst, obsessive stalker love, and more angst. Now, a real person feels a very wide range of emotions, and that's just not going to cut it, even for a sparkle pirate. So, obviously, that's not really much of a character. That's a flat, two-dimensional caricature of a person that is only passable if you're not paying that much attention when you read. As an example of how to do it right, let's take Harry Potter. Yeah. Let's get some cheers out here for Harry Potter. Yeah. All right. So, Harry Potter, in just one book alone, laughs, cries, feels awkward, rushes into a situation headlong without thinking it through, crushes on a girl that he ends up not going anywhere with. Now, doesn't that just sound like someone you could meet just in your everyday life? If it does, well then, that's a sign that the author of Harry Potter is definitely doing something right. You could if you pretty much met Harry Potter without the magic, and if you didn't notice the scar, you would just think that he was a normal person. You wouldn't think, oh hey, that's a book character. If characters seem like real people, you might be thinking, can I base a character on a real person? Well, absolutely. And just make sure that they won't be offended. Or if they will, make sure they don't find out. And as an example of a character I've created, let me tell you about Acredula Saradin. Now, she's for a fantasy world that follows a different set of rules than ours. So in her culture, a name like Acredula is normal, and a name like Emily Lowell would be really, really weird. So her name is appropriate for the setting she's in. She is absolutely not a bookworm, doesn't spend very much time inside, and instead she's rather athletic, and she looks that way. If she looked all athletic and tan and stuff and spent all of her time inside reading, that might not make too much sense. And she has a real deep personality like a real person. She's a little obsessed with justice, hasty to judge people, but very loyal and gets attached to the people that she cares about. Very protective, and like Harry Potter, sometimes rushes into things a little too fast without thinking them through. Hey, you might have even met someone who fits this description. You might not exactly get along with a character, even if they're your own. It might be someone who you wouldn't get along with that well if you met them in real life, but that's okay. Your characters don't have to be. I'm sure J.K. Rowling wouldn't get along too well with Voldemort. So, a word of warning about characters. If your character starts being, they can handle everything. They have all the powers, all of them. They never fail, have very little flaws, everyone loves them. This is not an interesting character. This is the dreaded thing known as the Mary Sue. Now, yes, thank you. A Mary Sue is the term for any character who is flat, boring, and unoriginal precisely because they have little to no faults. Don't do it. It's like drugs, it's addictive. Once you start making Mary Sues, you'll never stop, and your writing will spiral into an abysmal pit of awful. Like Stephanie Meyer. What? Okay.
I liked that.
So the plot of the story. Okay, and I really hate to rag on Stephanie Meyer. It's just that it's so easy to use her as examples of things not to do. Anyways, the plot can either be made before or after you make your characters. Your plot has to be interesting. You don't see national bestsellers that are some CEO and his wife lay on the beach for 500 pages and discuss the economy. You see bestseller novels with a plot that says something like, the world is in danger and a prophecy calls on a young adult to face the danger and save the world, while also finding true love and making friends and having epic battles against the forces of evil. You know, there's a reason that you can apply that plot summary to a lot of fiction books and movies and plays and everything. It's because it's interesting, and as long as it's a new take on it and it's done well, it's always a good story. It's really hard to mess that one up. But your plot can't contradict your world's rules. For example, if you're like, oh hey, the magical thing that they have to find needs to be a cat, and this is the world with no cats, yeah, fix your plot so there's no impossible cats. And you also can't contradict your characters' personalities with your plot. Now, a character is a lot like a real person. Now, would a real person do something that goes completely against their nature and stuff? For example, would a really, really brave, strong character like Han Solo from Star Wars, would he just suddenly be like, suicide mission to invade the Death Star or something. I'm going to chicken out and let Luke take this one. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. You either give them an excuse, something else that they need to be doing that fits their character, or a good reason, or you change the events so they're doing what's natural for them. For example, Acredula from earlier, my character, since she's all like, justice! She wouldn't just murder some guy, even if the plot calls for it. However, let's say that she was a witness to a murder of one of her best friends and the guy got off scot-free. Maybe it'd be a little more justifiable then. Just something to think about. Now, once you've got your world built up, you can go take this in any direction you want. You could write a play, write a script for a play, write the script for a movie, write a novel, a short story, a school assignment, or anything really, even a narrative poem. It's really just all up to you from here on out. These are just some guidelines of world building that I really hope help anyone, write something amazing. Thank you.